Hotep. My name is Melodye Micere Van Putten. I'm an Afrocologist, poet, author, education consultant, and I'm so pleased to share with you this piece coming from the libation, which of course is our oldest cultural ritual. It's called An African Prayer for Libation. Creator of all the universe, the African Supreme, may Dankanesh manifest her life-giving power in us. Mother of all, may she live as we breathe. Imhotep, multi-genius extraordinaire, may his brilliance inspire and inform us like Hannibal and Nzinga. Mighty, mighty warriors, may their strength be evident in our actions. As Hatshepsut represents a peaceful reign, may her blood flow through our veins. May Shiva's inner beauty renew our weary spirits as we receive the spirits of those who died and survived the torturous Middle Passage. May they be honored this night. May Harriet Tubman's steadfastness be our goal, ever returning the truth as spoken by Sojourner Truth and Frederick Douglass, David Walker and Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner, W.E.B. Du Bois and Carter G. Woodson. May the boldness and courage of Ida B. Wells, William Monroe Trotter, and Malcolm X dwell in us. May the wisdom of Mary McLeod Bethune and Martin Luther King guide us. Let us be as humble as Septima Clark, but as defiant as Fannie Lou Hamer. Let us sing the praises of our African ancestors, just like Mahalia Jackson and Paul Robeson, but be as sassy as the Duke, the Count, Ella, and Sarah. As we walk the old world, fashioning it anew, may the wise, unfailing, forthright righteousness of our mothers' mothers and the visions of our fathers' fathers take pride and glory in our every African step. May we hear, Lord, African rhythms. Let us live it, perpetuate it, and extend it in the minds, hearts, and spirits of a wounded people. We are seeking Nia purpose, looking for Umoja unity as we claim the millennium's healing power. We're walking Kuji Chakalia self-determination, walking Kuji Chakalia, practicing Ujima, Ujima, and Imani combined with Kuumba. May the ancestors in their Africanness be pleased. Ashe. I'm trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Historically speaking, it's been a brutal path. My people, oh my people, kidnapped, raped, branded, forcibly transported, shackled down. Death ships, stench-filled, carrying Africa's best. The strongest of the strong, surviving the unsurvivable. A lesser people would have died out, bowing to genocide. But they didn't, and we're still here. I'm trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Historically speaking, it's been a brutal path. Enslavement, chattel style, history, culture, language, God, humanity, stripped. What was my name? Segregation, convict leasing, Jim Crow laws, KKK lynching, inferiority labels, the indignities list, nearly endless. But we're still here, and our people are in need of repair, healing. I'm trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Historically speaking, it was a glorious path. God's first people, creating the foundation for civilization, imagining, conceiving, creating, building, inventing, exploring, being. That is who we really are. And we're still here, trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Spiritually speaking, we have always known God. God the good, God the creator, ancient of ancients. The Dogon knew God, gloried in mysteries of God's universe, Sirius B revealed and celebrated. The Kemites knew God, fashioned a godly value system, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, ma'at, divine values for right living. The Yoruba knew God, wisely heeding Odu Ife's instructions, do good, and let none of the good be lost. We must try to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Captured Africans knew God. God laid alongside them in the depths of slave ships, giving strength, courage, another day to see. Enslaved Africans knew God, spirit bosom buried, praying, singing, girding themselves, running, resisting, yearning to be free, to be human again. New World Africans knew God. The God force fueled their uprisings, escapes, protest marches, sit-ins, and freedom rides. The God force fueled their accomplishments in spite of odds, obstacles, obstructions. We must reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. Knowledge. What do we know now? We have a black first family, White House residents, yet racism scourge persists. How do we reconcile history's hurts, slights, injustices impossible to redress? Spiritually speaking, grapple with the obvious. 'Tis a bitter pill to swallow, forgive, and love one's enemies. Mercy. Yet, radical forgiveness is the only path to healing wounds, deep, destructive, devastating. To be clear, this is a monumental task. It is forgiveness as process, radical, continual, incessant forgiveness. I'm trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge, forgiving.
Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends, and we just heard the piece Reconciliation. So a very powerful and moving piece, and really, as we talked earlier about consciousness, a very conscious piece. What led you to write that piece?
Well, that piece comes in the latter 3/4 of the book. So by this time, I'm looking for healing of this history.
Okay.
And I realized after talking about consciousness and talking about when did we stop being African and talking about issues of hair and reparations and all the rest, that it is so much that I must reconcile this history with this future, and how do I stay sane? How do I be?
Yes.
How do I be?
Yes.
And so that's how the poem came, because I'm talking about reconciliation. So then I began with that first little stanza. I am trying to reconcile contradictions linked by knowledge. And then just started to go through the steps of the various contradictions and all of this information that one reconciles. I often say, that there is a risk, and I say that in the book, when you are conscious, when you know a lot about your history, there is this risk of becoming alienated. But I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse. I close this book talking about snatching joy. Okay? Because we, as modern day African people, have not only opportunities, but access to things our ancestors didn't dream of. Right? And so I talk about snatching joy to honor them.
Yes.
And as funny as it may sound, and even a little self-serving, when I go to have a manicure and pedicure, I say, thank you, Harriet.
Yes.
Okay, because she's walking. I'm sure my girl
Long,
would
long
have
time.
loved a pedicure.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm
Right.
just simply saying that the need to balance
Yes.
this work
Mm-hmm.
is almost as important as doing the work itself.
Yes.
Because how are you going to be long distance runner
Mm-hmm.
if you don't replenish yourself?
Yes. Talk about it.
Can't give what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Mhm.
the necessity to find joy, the necessity to laugh, the necessity to love
Mhm.
replenishes you so that you can do the serious work
Yes.
that still needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's true reconciliation.
I want you to speak a little bit about the alienation piece, because I think that keeps a lot of people from the journey or that leg of the journey, because they're afraid either to walk that part alone, or they're afraid that when they walk it, they will leave what they've known behind.
Well, there's two schools of thought about that. For some people, being alienated becomes a way of life. Um, it's like the devil that you know as opposed to the devil you don't know. But I don't personally or professionally see the advantages of living an alienated life. And I talk about that in my curriculum work. Because as a person who is African-centered in their training, in their thought process, and how I live, you can go both ways with it. Fortunately, I have a beloved professor who said that to work for your people does not mean you take a vow of alienation or poverty. Because who wants to really live like that?
That's right.
Who wants to emulate that? Right? And of course, I have been very blessed, privileged really, to study under some of the great African-centered masters, whether it is Asa Hilliard, or traveling to Africa with Leonard Jeffries and Dr. John Henry Clark, whether it's being mentored by Hakeem Mahabudi or Malana Karanga, or Malefi Asante or Kariama Welsh. I have been really blessed to have up-front, close, and personal relationships with some of our African-centered masters.
Yes.
And some of them have been most angry about how things have turned out. Dr. John Henry Clark in particular, beloved historian and master. I didn't know at the end who he was more angry at. White folks for what they did, or black folks for not moving fast enough.
Yes.
And I can imagine if you had dedicated your entire life, as he did, to recapturing the history, teaching the history, forwarding the history, and then feeling that people have not been responsive, they have not moved fast enough, so now you have spent your best energy, your youth, your life doing this work, and you feel at the end, why did I do it? Because the people are not where they're supposed to be. There has to be balance.
Yes.
You have to balance this work with living your life, because this is the only life at this point, in this particular time and space, that you have.
That's right.
Right. And so I want to work as hard as I play, and I want to play as hard as I work.
Yes.
That's balance.
I heard that. And on that, we're going to take a diva break.
A diva break.
Yes. We'll be back shortly on Dr. Walls and Friends.